Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Modern Business Operations. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting Bradley Collins. Hey, man. Good to see you.
Hey, Sagi, how's it going? Good to see you.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for joining me today. Bradley is the
Thank you
CEO
for
and
having me.
co-founder. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Bradley is the CEO and co-founder of LegalTechTalk. You guys are the Europe largest event provider for legal transformation. We've had the chance to talk and work together in the past, but I'm excited to learn more about you and what you guys are seeing. But maybe to kind of set the stage and even just kind of like get a sense of what you guys do and your path, I would love to just hear a little bit about how you got to start Legal Tech Talk, what you guys do, and just a little bit about your kind of career path.
Sure, yeah, and again, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Just a bit of background. I've been involved with building big communities of people in various different industries throughout my career. I've been pretty lucky in my early career that I joined already market leading companies. I started at Central Media, which runs The Lawyer, but at the time they run a lot of different media brands and event brands and awards and subscription businesses across a lot of different industries. And the common thread was always about transformation and innovation in various sectors. So I worked on a marketing portfolio there at the time. Things like programmatic advertising became a thing, which, transformed advertising. Was involved with building a show called the Festival of Marketing, which became the biggest marketing event in the UK at the time. Was there for quite a few years in commercial roles, doing partnerships with a lot of different tech vendors that wanted to get into the space. So got to hear from the vendors that were innovating and doing some cool different things. From there, I went to a FTSE 250 business, Essential. They run the biggest fintech show in the world with Money 2020 and the biggest advertising event in the world with Cannes Lion. Huge events like Money 2020 is like 12,000+ people in Vegas, a similar number of people in Amsterdam. One year, I'm sure they had Snoop Dogg perform the after party, and they'll get the founders of Monzo and Revolut and all the disruptors in the space coming along. Cannes Lion's a whole nother beast. I think it's like 100,000 people in Cannes. Google taking over the beach and ad agencies all having yacht dinners and events happening. And there's like thousands of smaller events all over the town. So these were super inspirational for me as events. I worked on the retail portfolio within that business. So we did a big events. And so we had Jack Ma from Alibaba coming to speak, and CEOs of all the big retailers. And again, always about transformation and change and innovation. So that's been at the core of everything I've seen. From there, I joined a startup in year one in the insurance sector. We built the biggest insurance sector events from the ground up in Europe, in Asia, and the second biggest event in America. Again, a lot of change. I see a lot of similarities with legal, which I'm in now, and these other industries. They all went through some sort of evolution and shift and change, and the business model shifted and changed quite dramatically, and there's a lot of disruption. So yeah, that sort of led me to LegalTechTalk. I can tell you a bit more, but I saw a gap in legal. There seemed to be an industry ripe for disruption, and there seemed to be a gap in the market for a similar event to what I saw in other industries in the space.
Maybe a good place to kind of dig into, and as you were talking, it made me realize how so like it's almost like an interesting course correct. We do that as humans all the time. It's we go one end, we realize, oh shit, we went too far to this side, then we swing to the to kind of the other side. And what I'm starting to feel, and I don't know if you see it too, I'm sure you are a lot closer to this, but it feels like the more AI, the more technology, the more digital, the more we went home to work from home after COVID, and again, the more sort of like unhuman interactions work becomes, the more people look for those communities and events, and the importance of communities become even more relevant. You touch about the ad world from a different angle, but it's almost like, how do you shop and how do you, choose vendors, but even on the consumer side, right? Like the joke I always have is, my wife buys from Instagram. She eventually buys from Amazon. Well, like the flow for her to buy things goes through Instagram. It's almost like the importance of communities was always high, but it's just getting higher with the more we become better at technology, the more we actually need the communities and not the opposite. Do you feel that? Like, what's your take?
Definitely feel that. And I think COVID did have a big effect, with 2, 3 years without really talking, seeing people in person. Um, the post COVID, we did the insurance event just like on the cusp of when you could all get together again. Our first event was in London, and a few months later, we did a big event in New York, and the buzz was just insane when everybody could get back together again. The smiles, people hugging, and I think a lot of people say to us, "Oh, do you stream your sessions at the event live so people can see it from around the world?" And we say, "No, like we want people to get together." And I think that's where a lot of the partnerships happen. People want to validate what is out there because there's so much noise and so much out there. So like being able to talk to peers, understand what your peers are doing, what are your competitors doing, touching and feeling what's out there. I think you can't really replicate that. And it's why like when we started our business, our investors are like, will AI disrupt the event business? And it can make us more efficient in organizing the event, but actually the concept will have changed. We want to get together and be in person with each other. And I don't think that will ever change.
Maybe, not many people understand maybe the complexity and structure needed to organize some of those massive events. And I think where you do look at the combination of, like you said, streaming part of the content, having the in-person thing, realizing like what type of content is actually interested for people to engage with live versus they prefer ChatGPT to summarize it for them. Like walk me through a little bit of how you think this beyond COVID and this stuff. It almost feels like now too like far,
Yeah.
far in the past. I feel like in the last 2 years, there's even more changes that can impact this industry. But again, for me, it's like from both sides, from a consumer of that industry, for me going to an event, but also from your side being like running that more, complex operation of those shows.
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of walk you through, I guess you want to sort of understand how we put it together. Like, how do you create something like this? I mean, the beginning is about I wouldn't even say the agenda and the theme and the topic, although it's incredibly important. It's also the speakers that you manage to get. Those two things together is that's phase one. What is the theme for us? It's around change and transformation of the sector, and there are people excited by change and like, well, let's chase what's possible. But I think the bigger driver is the fear of like missing out or falling behind other people. I think is a bigger driver. We center the agenda around those two things, but across every single topic and possible area within the legal sector, whether it's in-house, whether it's law firms, which department of law firms, what job title are you at? We think of it like I go to Glastonbury I've been there quite a few times. It's the big festival in the UK, one of the biggest in the world for people that don't know. I'd be surprised if you've not had a Glastonbury. No matter what music you like, no matter what the type of person you are, at any point in any day, there is music on that you're going to like 24 hours a day, 5 days across the week. And we're like, okay, how do we structure an event where no matter what time of day it is, there is something on for you, whether it's a session, a workshop, a roundtable, people to meet, something fun happening, music, after party. You never need to leave this event during the 2 or 3 days that it's happening. So it starts with the content, making sure there's something for everyone all the time. And then it goes down to the experience. Once you get your ticket, everything is included. It's the attention to detail. So many people commented. We had somebody with human signage at the train station directing people, like such a small thing, but people, like, they could feel those entering something the moment they got out of the train station, to like there being a live singer at 8 a.m. in the morning when people coming in and getting their coffee. It's just a really ambient vibe, and barista coffee all over the place. You don't have to queue. There's good coffee all the time. It's included. The beers and high quality wine. Yeah, the lighting. So it's the attention to detail, but really it's like also bringing the right people together. There's always, if you can bring it, the power of a big event is you can't really not be there because everybody else is there. And we're not quite there yet. I think maybe we will at this event. But once everyone sees that every single other one of their competitors, partners, investors is there, it then becomes like the first event on the map for people. And then it becomes easier for us, we can come back every year.
Fascinating. It's always, yeah, everyone that also have been in those massive, music festivals is just mind-boggling the operation that you need to pull off. Because I don't know, both in professional and personal world, sure, most people had experienced both, like a bad event and a good event, and I always like to kind of double click into those areas and kind of like the things seem beyond the curtain, if you will.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty lucky that we've got a really good team, and my co-founder, he covers all of my weaknesses, and attention to detail on the operational side is his thing. Me convincing people we're going to do a good event is my thing. So it kind of works quite well together.
Let's shift gears to the other thing about running events like that. To your point, that convincing people and all that stuff is really the community aspect of it too. I know, um, again, both in the music festivals example you gave, but also in the professional events, I think people will tend to come to the same event again and again, assuming that it was, year over year, assuming it was a good experience, because they start to form the same sort of a community, the same group of people. They'll see them every year. And I want to touch it. I want to touch a little bit more on that topic because I think communities are things that again, in the more digital the world becomes, the more people longing for to be part of a group that they can call their own. Whether it's cheering for the same band or the same football team or whatnot. Like it is. I think it's critical, but I see it in the business world too. Like they want to go to the same place and say, and kind of create that friend circle. How do you encourage that, or like how do you guys think about that? How do you approach that?
It was really, I felt it for the first time in the insurance industry. Our first event, it's about 1,000 people, and then we repeated it in Hong Kong and New York, and there'll be a core people that will come to all three events around the world, and then even like in the second and third year in London, you'd see that core people growing and growing, but just in the queue for the ticket or to get their badge, like just like the feeling they get when they'll get together. I mean, I was having Legal Week in New York a couple of weeks ago, and a ton of meetings there, and you just bump into people that you didn't know was going to be there, and it's like, oh, hey. When a group of people and another group of people come, it feels good. And I've been to some events in different countries where I didn't really know anyone, and it's a whole different feeling. For me, I'm an extroverted introvert, so when I don't know people, I don't really want to go up to people and talk. So yeah, I think people feel that, and there's a community in this legal space that's been around for quite a while, but I think a lot of new people are entering it now. There's a ton of new players in the space that are sort of building this bigger and bigger community. Didn't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, no,
yeah, I don't know
you
what else to
confirmed
say
the
on
thing.
it.
Yeah, you confirmed the thing. I'm kind of curious, like where I'm also obviously a CEO founder, and so I also kind of focus most of my time on the business. But I am originally a tech guy, like an engineer, right, and a product person. So I always think about the angle of like where does technology help? And I completely 100% agree with your statement of like it's a different experience if you know a couple people. You don't even need to know a lot. Like if you know a couple people in the event that are also going to that same event, it creates a bridge for most people. Like most people are not confident in just or comfortable, not even about confidence. It's like just not comfortable. Doesn't feel good to them to just drop into a random group of people and start talking. Like those exist for sure. They're usually salespeople, but but in most cases, and especially in professional settings, events like that, where you go after practitioners, in a certain topic, in this case it's legal. In previous world you had insurance and other. So it's not that common. So I was always thinking about like is there a better technology you can use to kind of see like who are you connected to, even in LinkedIn, or who are you connected to, from and like letting you know that you already signed to the event. It's not even about, that's also a way to bring you into the event, but even you already signed into the event, like, hey, you might know people you may know, type of thing, you might know those three people, because you connected to them with LinkedIn, like as simple as that. But you're like, oh, cool, John is here, type of thing.
Yeah, we had a little bit of that. So we use an AI powered networking app, which is great. It's we white labeled it. It looks like it's our own app. We didn't build it, but we've been working with the builders of the app to progress it every year. Like we've been using it in previous industries as well, and it's incredibly powerful. In one of the final events I was in insurance, I think there's like maybe 20,000 meetings booked through the app, pre-event. Like these are already pre-booked, and we had like these 200 networking tables, maybe just under 200, and from like nearly 7:30 a.m. There's one meeting on every single table, back to back to back to back to back to back to back over the 2 days, and then other meetings happening elsewhere. So that's incredibly powerful. You can filter attendees, but you can see who's coming. We got 300 or so speakers on the website. So that's an easy, like, here's 300 people that are coming. So a lot of people will know who they are. I had one person come to the event last year who'd been on LinkedIn, super active on LinkedIn. Hadn't really seen as many people in person for quite a while. Came to the event and he was absolutely flooded by people. Oh, you're the LinkedIn guy. But just, I think he had to go and hide in a quiet room somewhere after a while.
Let's talk a little bit about the topic though itself in legal, right? So, part of your guys' job is, you talked about the content, is to also educate the community, and bring speakers and bring the topics. Obviously, I'm sure AI is like the biggest topic, but what do you reckon? Like what's gonna be, what's the main kind of like trends in 2025? Um, what is the market, or again, community sentiment of where we're going in that industry, and what are you feeling from the field?
Yeah, hot topic right now, and don't question me on it. You'll probably know more about it than me. I'm not the tech guy. I just bring tech people together. Is agentic AI. In the last 2 or 3 months, this is the sort of the next thing. I don't think anybody's really doing it. Maybe people are dabbling in it, but yeah, I think the agentic AI is the next phase of AI. But in terms of like the industry as a whole, it's I'm in the legal space now. It's been, I think, one of the slowest sectors to evolve out of all sectors. And I think there's many reasons for that. The business model of law, it's risk averse, the partnership model, um, the incentive, like why do anything faster when you charge by the hour? Like what incentive do you have to change? So there's lots of reasons why it's been slow, but I think it's now sort of table stakes, and the cost of not doing something can be quite catastrophic. We've seen in other industries, there's retailers and department stores that don't exist anymore. Like there's no Toys R Us in the UK anymore. People buy their toys on Amazon. There's no Blockbuster, I think, globally now because, Netflix. Why go to the shop and get your DVD? The taxi market's been impacted through Uber and Lyft and Bolt and others. So every industry's had these disruptors that's come and changed things. Banking, the banks have had to innovate because otherwise, Monzo and Revolut would take even more market share. So I think from a legal industry perspective, they are not immune to this sort of radical disruption. We haven't seen that yet in terms of like an alternative legal service provider coming in and taking their market share, or a super sort of AI powered law firm. I still think like, what if you got the 100 best legal minds together and hunted with an AI driven cloud native platform? Could they operate like a 4,000 person law firm and do it cheaper as well, and just take loads of market share? I mean, these things can happen. I don't think it'll be overnight, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the space.
Well, I think actually that's a super good way to think about that. I talk about in this podcast, we we talk about change a lot, and the idea that change is gonna happen, period. And so you either let it happen to you or you kind of like drive it. I like your blockbuster moment example because I don't think I think blockbuster with Netflix situation. Uh, there's books about that, and there's the commentaries about that. People can get more educated about it, but most people maybe don't remember or know that Netflix started as let me send the DVD to you, right? So Netflix started before streaming was a thing, before the internet was strong enough, like fast enough to actually enable streaming. But the idea was basically the same, right? Instead of going to the store to go find a DVD, I'll ship it to you, and then you'll put it back in an envelope, and and send it back, type of thing.
The
Eh,
founders of Netflix also attempted to sell their business in the early days to Blockbuster, and they
yeah,
got laughed out the room.
yeah, exactly.
And
So
I'm sure there's many tech companies that have sold to law firms that have been laughed out the room as well.
yeah, and exactly, that's exactly right. So the reason I'm highlighting that part and your addition is important too, is because folks in an industry like legal, and there's other industries too, might look at some of the progress with AI, some of the tools that are being created, some of the methodologies that are proposed to change, like you said, like maybe change the way we bill, right? Instead of bill by the hour, bill by a project or whatnot. They might look at it as an incremental, insignificant change, such as we're still selling DVDs, we're just sending them to you over mail versus you going to the store. And then some executive says, but I want to go to the store because I want to look at the options and choose, you know what I mean? Uh, but look down on it and miss the point, that the point is the comfort of watching, of not leaving your home. And it's just a matter of time until the technology would be good enough to enable that fully. And I think, unlike Netflix and Blockbuster, AI moves much faster than than the progress of the internet, because the internet, you needed the infrastructure in the home to be faster. So it's not even was only the technology, it was how do you bring it to the homes. This is not where we are right now with AI. It's, it can move much faster than you think. And the model is the same. And I think that mental model is missing for a lot of those companies and executives to do the comparison. And I like the Blockbuster example very much, actually.
Well, the AI is exponentially improving, but the people are not moving at the same speed. And without people, then the AI is not quite as powerful, right? So,
Yeah. But
uh,
some people will, like you said, right? Some people will. And the end customer will, because the end customer want someone to generate, to create a solid legal doc for them, or review a legal doc for them. Some places are not going to be replaced quickly with AI, right? Like, going to a court and appearing in front of a judge is very different. But like, I actually don't know what the distribution of revenue is for a big law firm. But I'm sure there's a big chunk of it that is at risk if they don't, like, think forward there.
well, it's the commercial clients where the biggest risk is for the big firms. Like, can they take um, work in house that they were previously giving to their law firms? And I think if they can take a lot of it in house with the power of AI, and they're already doing that, then yeah, that is a big risk. And if law firms don't adapt and innovate and become more efficient and do things faster and better, at better price as well, or maybe fix these, then yeah, I think we'll see more in-house teams taking what in-house wherever they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Very good. Well, I think this is exciting. You want to share some details about your guys' next event?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to feel the sort of buzz and energy we're getting for the next event. We did our first event in June last year, and we got a lot of sort of innovation people and tech people from law firms and in-house counsel. It's exciting, I think, for the industry as a whole to see now that the managing partners and CEOs are coming in quite big numbers. Previously these people were described as blockers to change and blockers to innovation. Now they realize they have to be paying attention to what's going on. I think it's, their law firm is on the line. So yeah, we're seeing some managing partners, global managing partners of some of the biggest firms, Magic Circle firms, and other firms from around the world. So I think that's a positive sign, not just for our event, but for the industry as a whole. 4,000 people coming together in London, or a lot of fun, networking, good content. So yeah, looking forward to it. There's a nice energy around it.
Very good. Well, congratulations on all the success and good luck with this big event. Maybe kind of to wrap up, I always like to ask, you've gone through very different, parts of your career. Like, was there any early on advice that you kind of took with you and you think it's worth paying forward?
Not directly related to this industry, but I think one different things I can deal with. But in my early days, someone told me to read this book called Go Givers, which is about giving without expectation of getting anything back in return. And it's something that stuck with me. I read the book, and just small things, like I could take something from this conversation and talk to somebody 3 weeks later, and I think, like you would benefit from talking to this person, or vice versa, or making an introduction. No expectation of anything back at all. And these small things, like over years, sort of stack up and come back around again. So that's just one bit of advice that's stuck with me.
Yeah, I like it, and I agree. If anyone wants to reach out, learn more, where do they find you? The LinkedIn, is that X?
LinkedIn, Bradley Collins. That's where you can find me, or at LegalTechTalk in June. I'll see you there.
Awesome. Hey man, thank you so much for doing this, and that was a fun conversation. I appreciate you.
Likewise, appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and look forward to meeting in person sometime.
Yeah.